Is this Edradour the Sherry Bomber's holy grail? I'm Jeff, this is gwhisky. Stick around. Okay, so we're looking at an Edradour today, and I haven't talked about Edradour in it seems like a really long time. Now, they do have bourbon matured stuff, but Edradour tends to specialize in sherried whiskeys, and I admit I'm less into sherried whiskeys these days compared to like when I started the channel a few years back. So nowadays I prefer a lighter touch. Because while Edradour is very well known and it's a respected brand, they're not known for having a light touch. So this bottle was not really on my radar until a Finnish buddy recommended that I pick this one up, try it out. He said it's fantastic, and I thought, you know what? Not necessarily my wheelhouse these days, but I am a fan of the brand, so let's give it a go. Because honestly, I'll drink anything. In a healthy and moderate fashion. So I went out and I grabbed this one, which is batch 2 of their cast strength 12-year-old Oloroso Sherry Butts releases. Now, in terms of Edradour, I don't really know what's happening with their line these days. You still have the Signatory 10, I believe, the Standard 10, the 12 Caledonia. Beyond that, a lot of their releases feel kind of random. Then again, this 12-year-old cast strength series does seem to be an ongoing thing. I've got batch 2, but they're up to batch 4 now. They're putting out 2 per year. The Ibisco decanters, I'm pretty sure, are still a thing, so they definitely do have some consistency in their line. I just feel like I see a lot of random ages and a lot of random casks in the mix, and they're all kind of experimental, which is admirable. I like that, but it does make their range kind of hard to grasp. Or maybe that's just me. Anyway, this one here was distilled in 2011. It was bottled in 2023. It's obviously 12 years old. Batch 2, 5,100 bottles released, matured in first fill and second fill Oloroso Sherry Butts, and this one has been very well received online. The only criticism that I've seen is that it's 2 cask dominant, which does make sense, but it is an Edradour. Like, I don't go out to my local Indian spot and order the spiciest curry and then complain when I'm faced with an excruciating 2 hours of pain, tears, and regret on the toilet the next day. That was part of the deal. But to be fair, not everyone knows that. Not everyone is familiar with Edradour. So if you are new to the brand, just know that if you see an Edradour that's got some sherry or some port or some wine casks in the mix, be aware that those casks will have all the subtlety of an air horn at a funeral. Anyway, as much as I like to carry on about how I prefer lighter touches and I've kind of geared away from sherry these days, I'll admit I still have a soft spot for a well-made sherry bomb. And Edradour is well made. It's craft, it's characterful, and they have a lot of unique, dirty, funky elements that can shine through from behind even the activiest of active casks. That wasn't English. So do we have a winner with this one? Does it work? Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into our review. In the meantime, if you'll kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. So this gives us a 57.6% ABV, and it is non-chill filtered, and it's natural color. I approve of all of that. So for look of the bottle, I think this is pretty nice. I do prefer this to the look of the 10-year-old or the 12-year-old Caledonia. I like our little stripe across the middle. It's classy, it's shiny. Shiny things do impress me. We kept the kind of old school vibe. We'll give this 3.5 out of 5. The label does say non-chill filtered. It says natural color. On the back, we get a blurb where it says this is entirely matured in first and second fill Oloroso Sherry Butts, and it actually goes into specifics. So it gives us a breakdown of all the butts. It also gives us the batch number. We get the year of distillation, the year of bottling, so we have plenty of information here, and I do like the look of the bottle. On the nose, this has a lot of very dark, very heavy sherry. It has that musty, funky quality that we often find in Edradours. Now, be aware, if you're sensitive to sulfur, you are going to get some in this. There's also a lot of foresty berry notes in here, like dark forest berries, kind of like blackberries, elderberries, plums, that kind of thing. There's also some raspberries, maybe some cranberries in here. There's dark chocolate, there's leather polish, there's earth, and there's some chili pepper. Very nice. On the palate and finish, we have a very nice texture here, loads of intensity. First, we get a lot of dark, heavy fruits and spices, and then we follow that up with some chocolate. But this is not milk chocolate or even dark chocolate. This is kind of earthy and bitter. I would say it's closer to cocoa or cacao. I'm not sure which, but one of those. Again, lots of dark, tart berries. There's elderberries, there's forest berries, there's cranberries, there's plum, there's cooked fruit, etc. And then finally, we get a long finish with some oversteeped tea. That's a fun one. There's dried orange peel, lemon peel, sulfur, some nutmeg, and some leather. Okay, so if you've had Edradour before, something like this is not going to surprise you necessarily. It is very on brand for them. It is a well-made, dirty, funky sherry bomb, which is great because that's what I signed up for. This is obviously much more intense than the 10-year-old or the 12-year-old, which tracks because it's got a much higher ABV, but it's also darker. It's got that style of sherry that's very heavy and brooding. It's a style of sherry you don't see too much. Some Cowabungas kind of go in that direction, some Glenlivets do, but it's rare and goes without saying, this is cask dominant. And what I like about this one is that while it is on brand for Edradour and it tastes like something from them, it doesn't taste like every other Edradour. Not just the intensity. In terms of the sherry flavors themselves, they're more earthy and they're more tart. They're less sweet. We have those tart berry notes. We have that bitter cocoa, cacao, whatever. And they don't just rein in some of that sweetness. They almost overshadow it. So if you're looking for like a sweet, modern, syrupy, almost saccharine style of sherry, that's not going to be this one because, at least for me in my head, sherry can have different moods, different vibes. I know that sounds weird, but you have this kind of sherry and you have this kind of sherry. This one is this one. This one is a bomb. It's a beast. It's an old school, dirty, funky type of sherry. It's one of those balls to the wall sherry bombs that enthusiasts just lap up. Yeah, like testicle wise, massive. I think nobody does a sherry bomb quite like Edradour, and what I love about them is that something like this almost feels like the antithesis to those overly sweet modern styles of sherry that we see in so many whiskeys these days. This is not soft and it's not gentle at all, and I like it that way. That's what she said. So for score, I'm gonna land on 88. I think this is a fantastic whiskey. I love the intensity. I love that dirty, funky sherry. This, I think, will appeal to the enthusiasts who are really into that style of sherry, and I know a lot who are. Who it won't appeal to, though, are people who are especially sensitive to sulfur, because we do get some in this. So that is something to take note of. Personally, I'm not that sensitive to sulfur. Obviously, too much is too much. But if you're the type that doesn't want any sulfur notes in your whiskey, this is one you're going to want to skip. Beyond that, if that's not you, if you're into this style of sherry, and if you're traditionally a fan of Edradour, I can't imagine you not liking this one. I think this is an easy recommend. You're going to get along with it. Now, before we touch on value, I do want to say a quick thank you to all my channel members, all my patrons. Guys, thank you very much for all the support. And if anyone else out there wants to help out, help keep me financially sustainable and independent, there are a number of ways that you can help. I have Patreon and PayPal linked down below. Anything and everything helps. And again, massive thank you if you're already helping out with the channel. Now let's see if this is worth the money. Okay, so value. In my market, I paid just over 100 US for this one, which is roughly 80 pounds. And keep in mind, of course, I live in a very cheap market. You might have to pay a little bit more than that. I don't think in most markets it costs much more than that, and if it does, skip it. But for around that price, I do think it's worth the money, and I do recommend it. And that brings us to the end of the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, I want to hear from you. So have you tried our Edradour 12-year-old cask strength Oloroso Sherry Butts? How much did you pay for it? What did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Let me know all of that down below. Finally, down below, you can also let me know what you want to You can also let me know what you want to see me review down the line, and I will keep that in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.